Hi, I'm Lewis, also known as Skeffles, and welcome to my 17th devlog for my tower defense game, Project Torrim. Last week I made some great progress getting levels in the game and starting on a wave system. However, the week ended horribly with a completely game-breaking bug. I needed my game objects to hold a reference to their parent's object, which meant completely redoing all the constructors for my object. Once I had done that, I had noticed that all my click events were happening twice, which caused objects such as draggable towers to stop working. As such, fixing this bug is my number one priority. If I cannot fix it, then I can't make any more progress and the entire project is dead in the water. So hopefully I can do some debugging and get this fixed soon. It took some time, but I found what the problem was. It was one of those silly issues that takes up one line of code, but it takes a long time to find because of some weird assumptions I made months ago. The bug was caused by the collision map updating twice per game tick. This happened because the core part of the parent reference change meant that I could automatically get game objects to add themselves to the game object list. However, my original collision implementation never got added to that list and instead updated itself manually. With the latest changes, it was automatically adding itself to the list and then manually updating, causing it to update twice. The upshot of this meant that various collision functions, such as clicking buttons were firing twice, which caused a whole mess. So just removing the manual update for the collision map fixes that issue. I'm so glad I managed to fix this bug. Ever since I got a hint that it might exist in the GMT game jam, I was concerned that I was never going to be able to fix it. Moving on, I'm going to continue work on the wave system I began last week. The game can currently spawn a wave of enemies, but didn't know when to move onto a new wave. This is the original reason why I worked on adding a parent reference to each game object, so that when an object is disposed of, it will be removed from its parent. At this point, all I need to do is check if the wave's going to move on. And it looks like it's worked. New enemies have started spawning, which is fantastic. I can now tick off my enemy waves, and I want to look into doing tiers of waves. To get about an hour of varied gameplay from the game, I think I'll need more than just 2 enemies and an interesting spawning pattern. This is quite a lot of content to think about and balance, so I'll work on this and catch up with you when I've got something down. It's now the last day in my development week, and I have some fantastic progress to share. Starting off, the spawning system should be able to provide an interesting and varied set of waves to fight through. Taking a leaf out of the spawning system I created in the GMT game jam, I used every other number in the Fibonacci sequence to decide how many enemies of the current tier to spawn. When they spawn, all lower tier enemies will also spawn as support. After 4 waves, a boss variant will spawn, which is generally bigger and bulkier version of the main enemy. Upon defeating the boss, the main enemy tier will increase and the waves will start over again. The system works pretty well, but is a little dull. To spice things up, the waves are shuffled about a bit to give you a tease of the next enemy tier before the boss spawns. The upside of this is that if you can take down the next enemy tier, then you'll get good rewards to head into the boss fight. I think this will work out well, providing a decent amount of gameplay with variation. The downside is it's very predictable, and I don't know if that's going to be a detriment to the system. We'll just have to see when testing later on in development. I think the spawning system will need 6 different enemies to spawn for the gameplay to last about an hour. The enemies will of course be the yaks and bison that I already have, so I've been looking for 4 new animals to introduce as enemies. Keeping with bovines and bigger, bulkier creatures, I'll be looking at adding an Anoa, which is a smaller bovine with straight horns, a Bongo, which is a bigger and more colourful bovine, a Moose, which is one of your stereotypical big animals, and an Elk for similar reasons. Currently I've not created any sprites for these, instead I'm using recoloured versions of the Yak and Bison. Only when I'm confident in the gameplay will I create them in a big round of art for the game. I'm very happy with this week's progress. Fixing the bug from last week and making great headway with the spawning system feels absolutely fantastic. Looking ahead for next week, I think I want to prioritise my town management tasks, because during my testing this week, it became evident that that area of the game needs some attention. Don't forget to subscribe to get notified of the next devlog as soon as it comes out. Leave the video a like to let me know you enjoyed it, and comment to give me any feedback on the devlog or the game. Thank you, and goodbye.